The morning my fiancé vanished, I wasn't calling hospitals. I was staring at legal documents that said I now owned half of his company. He had signed everything over to me 12 hours before he disappeared. No warning. No argument. No note. Just a transfer of power and a company drowning in secrets. At first, I thought he was in danger. Then I found the audit folder he hid from everyone. And that's when I realized something worse. He didn't disappear randomly. He disappeared strategically. By the end of this story, you'll understand why he made me co-owner and why I might have been the final piece of his escape plan. But to understand that, you need to know what I found in his office that afternoon. Because that was the moment everything changed. The email came at 6:42 a.m. Subject line: ownership confirmation. Effective immediately. I thought it was spam. I almost deleted it. But the sender was our corporate attorney. And the attachment had both our names on it. I opened the PDF. My hands went cold. Transfer of 50% equity. Authorized and executed. Dated last night. Signed by Daniel, my fiancé. I checked the timestamp again. 11:48 p.m. That's when everything changed. Daniel had kissed me goodnight at midnight.
Calm.
Normal. Distracted, maybe, but he'd been distracted for weeks. He didn't say he was restructuring ownership. He didn't say I was becoming co-owner of his tech startup. And he definitely didn't say he was leaving. Because when I rolled over that morning, his side of the bed was empty. Not messy empty. Gone empty. Closet half cleared. Laptop missing. Passport gone. I called him immediately. Straight to voicemail. I told myself not to panic. Maybe an emergency trip. Maybe a surprise. Maybe, but Daniel didn't do spontaneous. He planned everything. Even our proposal had a spreadsheet. I called again. Voicemail. That's when I noticed his office door was locked. He never locked it. I found the spare key in the kitchen drawer. My hands were shaking when I turned it. Inside, the room looked cleaned. Too cleaned. His desk was almost empty. File cabinets open. Shredded paper dust still inside the bin. And one thing left behind. A single manila folder. Labeled. Pending review. I shouldn't have opened it. But I did. Inside were printed bank statements. Highlighted numbers. Transfers I didn't recognize. Large ones. 6 figures. Repeated every month. Outgoing. To an LLC I'd never heard of. The name felt generic. Almost intentionally forgettable. That's when my phone buzzed. It was Claire, his operations manager. Hey, she said quickly. Is Daniel with you? My stomach tightened.
No. Why?
There was a pause. He didn't show up for the board call. Daniel never missed board calls. Never. Did he tell you anything about ownership changes? I asked. Another pause. Longer this time. What do you mean? I swallowed. I got paperwork this morning. I'm co-owner now. Silence. Not confused silence. Measured silence. That's strange, she said carefully. Strange. Not surprising. Strange. That word echoed. Claire, I said slowly. What's going on? She hesitated. You should probably come into the office. The building felt different when I walked in. People stopped talking when I passed. Eyes followed me. Not sympathy. Assessment. I walked straight to Daniel's office. Claire was already inside. She closed the door behind me. Okay, she said quietly. When did he tell you? He didn't. She stared at me, then at the paperwork in my hand. He executed the transfer last night. She exhaled slowly. That's not possible. It literally is. She walked to her computer, pulled up internal filings. And there it was. Ownership updated in the system. Effective immediately. 50% mine. Her jaw tightened. He didn't run this by the board. Should he have? Yes. That one word shifted everything. I should have seen it coming. Claire, I whispered. Is the company in trouble? She didn't answer directly. Instead, she opened another file. Projected financial reports onto the wall screen. Revenue looked strong. Growth steady. But then she toggled another tab. Liabilities. My breath caught. There were short-term loans listed. Multiple. Large ones. Due in 90 days. Daniel said those were bridge investments, she said carefully. Bridge to what?
She didn't respond.
But her eyes said enough. Then she clicked one more tab. Legal. And that's when I saw it. A pending federal inquiry notice. My heart dropped. What is that? It's preliminary, she said quickly. Probably nothing. Probably. It's about reporting discrepancies. Reporting discrepancies. The transfers. The LLC. The missing money. Did he know about this? I asked.
Claire looked at me.
He was the one handling it. Of course he was. Daniel controlled finances personally. Said it was strategic. Said too many hands created leaks.
But I was completely wrong about why.
My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I answered. Is this Emily Carter? Yes. This is Special Agent Morris. We need to speak with you regarding Carter Innovations. The room felt smaller. Why? You were listed this morning as co-owner. My throat tightened. Yes. There was a brief pause on his end. Miss Carter, when was the last time you spoke to Daniel Carter? I looked at Claire. At midnight. Do you know where he is now? No, another pause. Then, that's concerning. Why? Because we've been trying to reach him since 5 a.m. The call ended shortly after. Claire stared at me. What did they want? They can't find him. She sank into a chair. And for the first time, I saw fear in her face. Not for him. For the company. For herself. For me. I turned toward the office window. The city looked normal. Cars moving. People walking. No one knew my life had just shifted. I was engaged last night. This morning, I was co-owner of a company under federal inquiry. And my fiancé was missing. But it wasn't until I sat in Daniel's chair that I noticed something else. The desktop monitor. It was on sleep mode. I tapped the mouse. Password protected. Of course. But Daniel reused variations of one phrase constantly. I typed it in. Access granted. On the desktop was one folder.
New.
Created at 11:52 p.m. 4 minutes after signing ownership transfer. The folder name? If anything happens. My pulse started pounding. I clicked it. Inside were 3 files. Insurance policy. Corporate contingency memo. A video file. Dated last night. I hovered over it. Did he know he was leaving? Was he forced? Or did he plan this? Behind me, Claire whispered. What did he do? I didn't answer. Because I had just opened the video file. And Daniel was staring directly into the camera.
Alive. Calm.
Prepared. And the first thing he said was, if you're watching this, Emily, it means the transfer worked. Daniel didn't look scared in the video. He looked precise. Measured. Like he'd rehearsed it. If you're watching this, Emily, it means the transfer worked.
Worked.
Not, I'm sorry. Not, I love you.
Worked.
My throat tightened. Behind me, Claire didn't breathe. Daniel continued. You're probably confused. That's intentional. The less you knew, the safer you were. Safer from what? I never meant for you to be involved. But timing forced my hand.
Forced.
He leaned closer to the camera. There are 2 versions of what's about to happen. In one, I disappear and take the fall. In the other, you do. The room felt like it tilted. Claire whispered. What does that mean? I couldn't answer. On screen, Daniel slid a folder toward the camera. You'll find discrepancies in the books. Transfers. Shell entities. It's going to look bad.
It already did.
But none of that started with me.
A beat.
It started with the board. Claire stiffened. Daniel kept talking. They needed liquidity fast. Faster than we could ethically generate it. Ethically. They created an external structure. Temporary. Quiet. The LLC. The 6-figure transfers. I signed because I thought I could control it. He shook his head slightly. I couldn't. That's when everything shifted. This wasn't just financial mismanagement. This was internal.
Corporate.
Deliberate. If the inquiry escalates, Daniel said, they'll need a narrative. A rogue founder. A scapegoat. My stomach dropped. They can't implicate the board without implicating themselves. So they'll isolate responsibility.
Claire took a step back.
They'll isolate me. The room went silent. Daniel looked straight into the camera. That's why I transferred ownership. My pulse hammered in my ears. As co-owner, you gain full access to internal communications. Archived agreements. Insurance triggers. You'll see things I couldn't safely forward. Insurance triggers. That first file. He knew something was coming. But there's a risk, he continued. If they move quickly, they'll claim you were part of it. My hands went cold. They'll argue the transfer was strategic.
Planned.
Shared liability. Claire's face drained of color. That's insane, she whispered. On screen, Daniel's expression hardened. If you're watching this, it means they've already contacted you. The federal agent. 5 a.m. He exhaled slowly. I need you to check the litigation tab in the internal drive. Look for a draft filing dated 2 weeks ago. They won't expect you to know it exists. The video ended abruptly. No goodbye. No reassurance. Just a blank screen. Claire and I stared at each other. 2 weeks ago, she said. I moved to the keyboard. Opened the internal legal directory. Scrolled. Most files were standard compliance drafts. Then I saw it. Preliminary defense structure, confidential. Dated 14 days ago. I opened it. My breath caught. It was a litigation strategy outline. Not defensive. Offensive. The document outlined how to respond if regulators discovered reporting inconsistencies. And under responsible party structure, there was a name. Daniel Carter. Primary liability. But underneath that, there was a secondary clause. In the event of ownership restructuring within 30 days of inquiry escalation, shared executive accountability may apply.
Shared
executive accountability. I looked at Claire. Did you know about this? She shook her head slowly. No, but she didn't look surprised. That was the problem. Who drafted it? She leaned closer. The author metadata loaded. My stomach dropped. It wasn't Daniel. It was the board's legal counsel. Uploaded after a private board session. The same week, Daniel started acting distant. The same week, he insisted we postpone wedding planning. I should have seen it coming. They were preparing, Claire whispered. For what? I asked. For collapse. My phone buzzed again. Agent Morris. I answered immediately. Miss Carter, we've reviewed the ownership filing. Yes. Can you confirm when the decision was made? Last night. Were you present? No, another pause. Did you have prior knowledge of any pending financial exposure? I hesitated. This was a test. I'm reviewing internal documents now.
silence.
Then, Miss Carter, off the record, this investigation isn't small. My pulse quickened. How not small? There are external investors who claim funds were diverted. Diverted? The LLC. The complaint alleges structured concealment.
Structured.
Not accidental.
Not sloppy. Designed.
Do you believe Daniel Carter would flee? The question hit harder than I expected. I pictured him last night. Quiet. Thoughtful. Holding me a little longer than usual. I don't know, I admitted. And that scared me. After the call, Claire shut the office blinds. Okay, she said. We need to think strategically. Strategically? I snapped. My fiancé disappeared. And you're co-owner of a company facing federal scrutiny. She wasn't wrong. She pulled up the company's debt schedule. The short-term loans totaled $8 million. Due in 90 days. Secured against projected revenue that hadn't materialized yet. Bridge investments. Bridge to nowhere. If regulators freeze accounts, she said quietly, payroll collapses. How many employees? 73. 73 lives. Families. Mortgages. Suddenly, this wasn't just about Daniel.
Or me.
It was about everyone. Then Claire clicked into the LLC receiving transfers. Ownership details were masked behind layered entities. But one thing stood out. Registered agent location. Delaware. Same as, I froze. Same as the board's private holding firm. That can't be coincidence, I whispered. Claire stared at it. They moved money internally. And blamed Daniel? That's what it looks like. Mid-story, something locked into place. Daniel didn't disappear because he was guilty. He disappeared because he refused to be the only one held accountable. Or, he disappeared because he knew they'd sacrifice him. There was a difference, and I didn't know which one terrified me more. An email notification popped up. Subject: Emergency Board Meeting, 3 p.m. mandatory attendance. For me, I hadn't even been co-owner for 12 hours. They were moving fast. Too fast. That's when I noticed something else in the litigation document. A clause buried near the bottom. In the event of executive incapacitation, succession authority transfers immediately to co-owner for interim stabilization. Incapacitation. Not resignation. Not departure. Incapacitation. That word felt deliberate. Claire saw it too. They expected him to be unavailable. My chest tightened. You think they knew he'd disappear? She didn't answer. But her silence said enough. At 2:47 p.m., as I prepared to walk into that boardroom, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Different from before. I stepped into the hallway to answer. Emily. My heart stopped. Daniel.
His voice was steady. Alive.
Where are you? I whispered. I can't tell you. Are you safe? A pause.
Yes.
For now.
For now.
Did you take the money? I asked. Silence. Then, did you watch the whole video? Yes. Then you know enough. That's not an answer. I needed leverage, he said quietly. Leverage. Against the board. Against regulators.
Against me?
Emily, they're going to pressure you today. I figured. Don't sign anything. What did you do? I demanded. Another pause. Longer this time. I bought us time. By disappearing? Yes. That makes you look guilty. I know. My voice cracked. Then why? His next words changed everything. Because if I stayed, they would have made you the villain. The hallway felt suddenly airless. What does that mean? It means the transfer wasn't just protection.
A beat.
It was bait. The call cut. No goodbye. No explanation. Just silence. I stood there, phone shaking in my hand.
Bait.
For who? For the board? For regulators? Or for me? Behind the boardroom doors, I could hear low voices. Waiting. Calculating. And for the first time since this started, I realized something darker. Daniel hadn't just transferred ownership. He had transferred exposure. And I was about to find out whether I was protected or positioned. The boardroom went quiet when I walked in. 7 people. All older. All polished. All pretending this was normal. At the head of the table sat Martin Hale, lead investor, silent majority shareholder. He gave me a sympathetic smile. Emily, we're all very concerned. Concerned. Not surprised. Not confused. Concerned. I took Daniel's usual seat. That alone shifted the air. Martin folded his hands. We understand Daniel made a last-minute ownership adjustment. Adjustment. As co-owner, he continued, you now share fiduciary responsibility. There it was.
Shared.
We need stability. Another board member added. Regulators are circling. I'm aware, I said evenly. Martin slid a folder toward me. We've drafted a preliminary statement. I opened it. It framed the financial discrepancies as founder-led overextension. Founder-led. Singular. Daniel. But near the bottom, a clause. Executive leadership, including newly appointed co-owner, was involved in high-level strategic discussions. My stomach tightened. Strategic discussions. Vague. Flexible. Dangerous. So this makes me complicit, I said calmly. Martin smiled thinly. It acknowledges collective oversight. Collective. Except Daniel was missing. Which meant collective became me. I looked up slowly. Did any of you know he was planning to transfer ownership? Silence. Then Martin. He mentioned restructuring weeks ago. Weeks ago? That was a lie. I would have known. Unless the transfer wasn't sudden. Unless it was reactionary. To something that happened weeks ago. That's when I remembered the draft litigation document. Dated 2 weeks earlier. They had been preparing. Preparing for him to fall. Or preparing for someone to. I won't sign this, I said. The temperature in the room dropped. Martin leaned back. You may not have a choice. There it was. The pressure Daniel warned me about. You're exposed now, another member said carefully. Federal investigations rarely isolate. Isolate. That word again. They needed someone isolated. Daniel made sure it wasn't just him. Or maybe he made sure it wasn't just him anymore. Martin steepled his fingers. If Daniel has done something reckless, distancing yourself quickly is in your best interest.
Distancing.
From my fiancé. From the man who just warned me not to sign anything. You assume he's guilty, I said. We assume liability exists. Carefully worded. Predatory. I leaned forward. And the Delaware LLC? For the first time, I saw it. A flicker.
Quick.
Controlled.
But there.
Martin recovered fast. What about it? It shares a registered agent with your holding firm. Silence. The kind that hums. One board member shifted uncomfortably. Martin's expression hardened. You're out of your depth. That's when everything changed. He wasn't denying it. He was dismissing me. You moved funds internally, I said quietly, and structured it to look external. No one spoke, which was answer enough. Martin stood. This meeting is adjourned. Too fast. Too defensive. As they filed out, he paused beside me. Careful, Emily. Intent matters. Intent. What did that mean? When the room emptied, Claire slipped inside. Well, they're scared. Of regulators? No, I met her eyes. Of losing control. Back in Daniel's office, I replayed his words. It was bait. Bait for who?
The board?
If they pushed too aggressively, they'd reveal their own involvement. Or bait for regulators. If they came after me publicly, I could force discovery. Insurance triggers. The first file in the folder. I opened it. Keyman insurance policy. Coverage activated upon executive disappearance under suspicious circumstances. Suspicious circumstances. Payout. $12 million. Beneficiary. Carter Innovations. Not Daniel. Not me. The company. My pulse quickened. If Daniel disappeared and investigation escalated, insurance injected $12 million. Enough to cover short-term loans. Enough to stabilize payroll. Enough to survive 90 days. Bridge investments. He didn't create a bridge to nowhere. He created a bridge through disaster. But there was a catch. Insurance required proof of non-voluntary absence. Meaning, if he looked like he fled guilt, the claim would stall. If he looked threatened, it would accelerate. That's why he called. That's why he told me not to sign. They needed narrative control.
So, did he?
Claire read the policy over my shoulder. He staged this. Yes. But that makes him look guilty. I know. That's risky. He knew that. That's when a realization hit me so hard I had to sit down. He didn't just disappear to protect himself. He disappeared to trigger liquidity. To trap the board between two dangers, blame him and risk insurance payout scrutiny. Cooperate and expose their internal transfers. It was chess. Corporate chess. And I was now a queen on the board. But queens can be sacrificed. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. I didn't hesitate. Daniel. You read the policy. Yes. Silence. Then, good. You staged this for money. For survival. You could go to prison. So could they. There it was. Mutually assured destruction. You made me co-owner to activate authority. I said slowly. Yes. And exposure. Another pause. Yes. My chest tightened. You used me. I trusted you. That hit differently. You trusted me with federal liability? I trusted you to think. Anger flared. And if I didn't agree with you, that's the risk I took.
Risk.
He risked my future. My name. My freedom. Emily, he said quietly. They were preparing to isolate you. That stopped me cold.
What?
They needed someone closer to operations. Someone present at executive updates. But I wasn't in finance. Perception matters more than reality. My stomach dropped. The draft clause. Shared executive accountability if restructuring occurred. They were preparing to shift ownership before he did. To someone controllable.
Me.
I intercepted it, he continued. You intercepted what? The vote. The room felt suddenly smaller. They were planning to dilute me and elevate you, with limited protection. My breath caught. They were going to make me co-owner? Yes. And let me take heat? Yes. The floor felt unsteady. But I moved first, he said. I structured it legally.
Clean.
With documentation. And vanished. Yes. Because if he stayed, they could argue conspiracy. If he left, they looked divided. Conflicted. Unstable. Regulators love instability. I needed to fracture the narrative, he said. And you needed me confused. Yes. Honesty.
Raw.
Uncomfortable. You don't get to decide that for me, I whispered. I know. Silence stretched between us. Then he said something that changed everything again. There's one more file. My pulse spiked. What file? In the If Anything Happens folder. Hidden layer. I froze. There are only 3. Not if you access it from the secure admin login. My stomach dropped. That login is board restricted. Yes. You don't have it. I don't anymore. Meaning, he had it before. Meaning, he had accessed something he wasn't supposed to. What's in it? I asked quietly. A long pause. Longer than any before. Proof. Proof of what? That the money didn't just circulate internally. The air left my lungs. It was siphoned. By who? His answer came slow. Heavy. By someone who isn't on the board. Cold spread through me. Then who? Another pause. And this one felt different. Hesitant. Like he didn't want to say it. Emily, my heart started pounding.
Who?
The secondary authorization on the largest transfers, my throat went dry, was issued from your credentials. The world stopped. That's impossible. I know, but the logs say otherwise. My mind raced. I had never approved transfers, never even logged into that system. Unless someone used my access, or cloned it, or framed me. And suddenly the ownership transfer made horrifying sense. If regulators traced the siphoned funds, they would land on me. Daniel didn't just disappear to trigger insurance. He disappeared because the paper trail was pointing somewhere else. To someone who didn't even know they were on it. To me, for a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. My credentials? I whispered. Yes, Daniel said quietly. Secondary authorization. 2 major transfers. 8 days apart. That's impossible. I thought so too. My mind raced backward. 8 days ago, I had been in Chicago visiting my sister. Before that, wedding venue meetings, dinner with Daniel, normal life. I never logged into finance systems. I know. Then how? Someone cloned your executive token. Executive token. 2-factor authentication device. The small encrypted app Daniel insisted I install for transparency. My stomach dropped. Daniel, yes. You set that up. Silence. And that silence said everything. That's when everything changed. He exhaled slowly. I implemented company-wide authentication, including yours. And you had admin override. Yes. My chest tightened. You're saying you could have accessed my credentials? Yes. The word hung between us. Heavy. You framed me? I whispered. No, but you could have. I didn't. That's not comforting. There was something in his voice now. Not calculation. Regret. Emily listened carefully. The siphoning started months ago. Small amounts. Escalating. The LLC.
Yes.
But the final 2 transfers were larger. Riskier. They required secondary sign-off. And that sign-off was me. Yes. Why? Because it needed to look internal. Internal. Not rogue founder. Not external hack. Internal complicity. Which meant someone was constructing a false narrative long before the inquiry. Was it the board? I asked. No, his answer was immediate. Too immediate. Then who? A pause. Longer this time. You. My vision blurred. What? Not intentionally, he said quickly. But your email was compromised 3 months ago. I froze.
What?
There was a breach. Minor. I handled it. You handled it? I didn't want to stress you before the wedding. Anger flared so fast it surprised me. You decided what I could handle? I thought it was contained. But it wasn't. No, he continued carefully. The attacker didn't steal money at first. They watched. Studied workflows. Built legitimacy. Inside the system. Yes. And when the board started moving funds, they exploited it. I felt cold. So someone external siphoned money, using internal chaos. Yes. And use my credentials. Yes. Why mine? Another pause. You were the cleanest executive profile. No financial authority. No scrutiny history. Perfect misdirection. Misdirection. Suddenly the pieces locked. The board moved money quietly. Daniel signed off to contain it. An external actor piggybacked the structure. Escalated siphoning. Planted authorization trails under my name. If exposed, board blames Daniel. Daniel takes fall. Discovery reveals my credentials. Shared liability. Scandal. Company collapses. Insurance never triggers. Everyone loses. Except whoever siphoned the funds. Who is it? I asked. Daniel inhaled slowly. Check the hidden admin file. I can't access it. You can now. My screen blinked. Remote session request. Daniel, you're hacking the system right now? I'm restoring what I removed. The secure admin panel opened. A hidden file appeared. Audit. External access pattern. I opened it. IP logs. Timestamps. Access nodes. Then a name surfaced in the report metadata. Not a board member. Not an employee. My stomach dropped. Claire Thompson. Operations manager. My chest tightened. No, Daniel's voice was quiet. She had back-end access. Vendor coordination. Compliance dashboards. She helped me today. I know. She looked scared. She should be. I scrolled. Her credentials intersected with the external IP pattern repeatedly. Staggered time frames. Masked routing. It wasn't random. It was methodical. That's impossible, I whispered. She was in debt, Daniel said quietly. Severe. Personal loans. Private equity gambling. My mind flashed back. Her silence when I mentioned the transfer. Her careful wording. Her measured pauses. Did you confront her? I asked. No, why not? Because I needed proof strong enough to survive federal scrutiny. And disappearing was part of that. Yes. His voice lowered. If I accused her without airtight evidence, the board would shield her to avoid reputational collapse. But now the system flags internal breach during executive absence, which triggers independent forensic audit, which uncovers external siphoning separate from board movement, which separates board misconduct from criminal theft, which protects the company. And maybe me. I sat back slowly. You risked everything. Yes. You risked me. Silence. Yes. There it was again. Honesty that hurt more than lies. My office door creaked open. Claire stepped inside. You okay? Her voice was steady. Too steady. I turned the monitor slightly away.
Yeah.
She studied my face. Board's drafting a public statement. Of course they are. She stepped closer. You shouldn't trust them. The irony almost made me laugh. And who should I trust? I asked quietly. She held my gaze. You trusted Daniel. That's when I saw it. A flicker. Not fear. Calculation. I closed my laptop slowly. Claire, I said evenly. Were you having financial problems? Her expression didn't change. Everyone has financial problems. Gambling debts. There it was. A crack. Small. But visible. I don't know what Daniel told you. He didn't tell me. I interrupted. I found it. She went still. The air shifted. You accessed restricted files? She asked softly. Funny how that works. Her jaw tightened. You don't understand what was happening. Then explain. She laughed once. Short. Bitter. The board was moving millions like it was monopoly money. No oversight. No ethics. So you stole it? I rebalanced it. Rebalanced. You siphoned company funds. I took from corruption. You framed me. She hesitated. And that hesitation confirmed it. You were collateral, she said quietly. Collateral. Not target. Not enemy. Collateral. That was the cleanest path. I felt something inside me fracture. You sat in that office with me. I needed to know how much Daniel left you. She stepped back slowly. He wasn't supposed to disappear like that. My heart pounded. What does that mean? I thought he'd fight internally, not detonate the board. Detonate. She moved toward the door. By the time regulators untangle this, it'll all collapse anyway. Not anymore, I said quietly. She paused. What did you do? I held her gaze. I triggered the independent audit. Her composure finally cracked. You don't know what that will uncover. I do. Silence. Then, you'll destroy the company. Or save it. Her face hardened. You're naive. Maybe. I picked up my phone. And maybe that's what makes me dangerous. Security arrived faster than she expected. She didn't resist. Just looked at me once more before leaving. Not angry. Almost relieved. 3 weeks later, the findings became public. Board misconduct, confirmed. Structured concealment, documented. External siphoning, isolated to Claire. My credentials, cloned during breach. Daniel's disappearance, strategic but not criminal. Insurance, activated. 12 million stabilized operations. 73 employees kept their jobs. The company survived. Barely. Daniel returned 2 days after the audit announcement. Not triumphant. Not heroic. Just exhausted. We sat across from each other in the same kitchen where this began. You could have told me, I said quietly. I know. You didn't trust me with the truth. I was trying to protect you, and instead, you positioned me. Silence. He nodded. Yes. I studied him. The man I was supposed to marry. The man who built contingency plans instead of conversations. I don't know if I can marry someone who sees me as strategy. That landed. Hard. I never saw you as strategy, he said softly. I saw you as strength. Strength without consent isn't partnership. He didn't argue. For once, he just nodded. I'll spend the rest of my life earning that back, he said. And for the first time in weeks, I believed him. But belief and marriage aren't the same thing. Before I made my final decision, I did one thing. I called Agent Morris. I want to give a full statement, I said. Voluntarily. Transparency. Not strategy. Because I'd seen another case like this once, where silence protected the wrong people. And I wasn't going to repeat that cycle. The wedding is postponed, not canceled.
Not yet.
Trust, I learned, isn't about loyalty during calm seasons. It's about honesty during collapse. Daniel built systems. I built boundaries. And maybe that's why the company survived. But here's the question I still wrestle with. If someone you love risks your future to save your life, is that protection or betrayal? Would you have exposed the truth or protected your peace?